Today, we are diving into a strategy that honestly seems to defy the laws of the current housing market. While so many people are struggling just to pay rent, some folks are using this really clever approach to not just get by, but to actually get ahead financially. Let's break down how they're doing it. So, we're going to kick things off with a quote that might make you do a double take. This is from Margaret Skiff. She's 27, and she found herself completely priced out of the rental market. Her solution? It wasn't to find a cheaper apartment, it was to buy a home. So, how on earth can buying be more affordable than renting? That's the million-dollar question we're tackling in this explainer. I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, but the answer is a surprisingly simple and really powerful financial strategy. And we're going to show you exactly how it works using a real-world example. Okay, first, let's set the scene with a problem that I'm sure a lot of us know all too well. Section 1 is all about a renter's dilemma. Our story starts in 2025. This is Margaret, and she just got the news that every renter dreads. Her landlord isn't renewing her lease. So bam, just like that, she was thrown into this super tough, super expensive rental market with very few options. But here's where the story takes a turn. Instead of panicking and scrambling for another apartment, Margaret made a huge pivot. And that brings us to Section 2, the house hacking solution. What's so amazing here is just how bold this move was. I mean, instead of downsizing, she went bigger. She bought a $575,000 duplex. Yeah, it sounds like a massive financial leap, but this is where the strategy really kicks in. This whole strategy has a name. It's called house hacking. The definition is pretty simple, but it is so powerful. You buy a property with more than one unit, like a duplex or a triplex. You live in one of them, and then your tenants in the other units help you pay down your mortgage. You're basically turning your biggest monthly expense into an income-generating asset. It's a total game changer. So here's the playbook, right? It's a simple four-step process. First, you find and buy a multi-unit property. Second, you move into one of the units yourself. Third, you get tenants for the other units. And then here's the magic step. You use that rental income to absolutely slash your mortgage payment, which just craters your personal housing cost. Okay, let's keep going because the numbers are where this strategy really comes to life. So Section 3, making the math work. Let's start with Margaret's total monthly mortgage payment. It's $4,000. Now, that number on its own, it's a hefty sum, for sure. It's probably a lot more than she was even paying in rent before she had to move. But here comes the hack part of house hacking. The tenants who were already living in the other unit pay her $2,000 a month in rent. And that money doesn't just, go into some savings account. It's a direct line item reduction of her own housing costs. And here's the final result. You subtract that rental income from her mortgage payment, and suddenly her effective housing cost is down to just $2,000 a month. That's right around what she was paying in rent before. But now she's building equity and owns a valuable asset. Let's just zoom out for a second and look at the annual impact. That $2,000 a month adds up to $24,000 a year. That is money that is now working for her, building her personal net worth instead of just disappearing into a landlord's pocket. It's a huge financial shift. And just to put this into perspective, the median American homeowner spends over 21% of their income on housing. By basically cutting her housing costs in half, Margaret completely rewrote her own financial story. She freed up a massive chunk of her income to save and invest instead. But her smart financial planning didn't stop there. Oh no, she actually amplified her success with a few other really key decisions. And this brings us to Section 4, beyond the mortgage. So, Margaret basically hit the turbo button on her financial progress with two powerful accelerants: smart do-it-yourself renovations and a really profitable side hustle that helped fuel her initial down payment. Get this, she only invested $15,000 in renovations. For a two-unit property, that is almost nothing. So what was the secret? Well, she and her mom did most of the cosmetic work themselves. They only hired pros for the specialized stuff like plumbing and electrical. This added a ton of value without a huge cash outlay. And, this hands-on approach is actually part of a much bigger trend. As you can see from this data, younger generations, like Gen Z and millennials, are way more likely to take on renovation projects themselves compared to baby boomers. It's a mindset, right? It's about prioritizing sweat equity to build financial equity. Now for that other accelerator, her income. On top of a really solid salary of $113,000, she earned an extra $38,000 from creating social media content. This side hustle wasn't just pocket money. It was the engine that powered her down payment savings. It just goes to show how having diverse income streams can open up major opportunities. So, what can we all take away from this? Let's try and distill her story down into a clear, actionable framework. Section 5, your financial playbook. And this is really important. This strategy is not just for young first-time buyers. In fact, you could argue that older homeowners often have the most potential to use this idea. Think about it. An empty nest, a spare bedroom, a basement you could convert, these are all potential income streams just sitting there, waiting to be unlocked. So the key takeaways can really be broken down into 4 core principles. 1, leverage the assets you already have, whether that's property or a skill people will pay for. 2, set specific, concrete financial goals, like Margaret's goal of a $500,000 net worth. 3, automate your savings so you're building wealth without thinking about it. And 4, really understand the incredible power of starting early. That last point, man, it's everything. As Margaret herself says, the difference of just a few years, starting at 21 instead of 25, was absolutely monumental for her long-term wealth, all because of the power of compounding. You know, the best time to start was yesterday, but the second best time is right now. And that brings us to our final question for you. This playbook isn't about telling you to go buy a duplex tomorrow. It's about changing your perspective. It's about looking at your finances through a new lens. So take a look around. What unused space in your home or what untapped skill you have could be your first step.